I found the anniversary card in his gym bag. To my soulmate, Diane, happy 7th anniversary. Every year with you is better than the last. The handwriting was his. The date was October 2019. We got married in June 2020. I stood in our bedroom holding a card he'd written to another woman 8 months before he proposed to me. When I asked him about it that night, he said Diane was ancient history. He said I was being insecure. He said successful men like him always had exes who couldn't let go. He took the card from my hand and tossed it in the trash. Then he kissed my forehead and asked what was for dinner. That's when I knew he was still lying. My name is Natasha Reeves. I married Gregory Caruso in a vineyard ceremony with 200 guests. He was a regional sales director for a medical device company. Confident, well-dressed, the kind of man who made reservations at restaurants I couldn't pronounce. On our second date, he told me about his divorce. He said his ex-wife, Diane, had been threatened by his success. He said she'd wanted him to stay small and comfortable. He said leaving her was the hardest thing he'd ever done, but he knew he deserved a partner who celebrated his ambition. I believed every word. I thought I was different. I thought I was the woman who finally understood him. The first year of marriage was perfect. Gregory got promoted to senior director. We bought a house in Meadowbrook Estates. He surprised me with weekend trips to Napa and Charleston. He introduced me to his colleagues as the woman who changed everything. I felt chosen, special, like I'd won something Diane had lost. Then came year 2. Gregory started working later. He'd come home at 9, sometimes 10 at night. When I asked about it, he'd say the promotion came with responsibilities. He'd say I didn't understand corporate pressure. He'd say if I really loved him, I'd support his career instead of interrogating him. I stopped asking questions. That wasn't the worst part. 6 months ago, Gregory started mentioning a new colleague. Her name was Paige. She was in her late 20s, fresh from an MBA program assigned to his team. He said she had potential. He said he was mentoring her. He said it was part of his leadership development role. Then he started staying late specifically on nights when Paige was working. Then he started going to conferences where Paige was also attending. Then he came home from a work dinner at 11:30 p.m. and I could smell unfamiliar perfume on his collar. When I mentioned it, he said I was paranoid. He said I sounded just like Diane. That comparison made me go quiet. I found the anniversary card 2 weeks after that comment. October 2019, 7 years with Diane. He married me in June 2020, 8 months later. I did the math in my head. He would have been writing anniversary cards to Diane while dating me, while telling me she was threatened by his success, while positioning himself as the victim of a failed marriage. I sat on our bed for an hour trying to make it make sense. Then I opened my laptop and searched for Diane Caruso. I found her in 10 minutes. Diane Harlow now, remarried, living in Portland. Her Facebook profile was semi-public. I could see photos of her with a kind-looking man and 2 golden retrievers. She looked happy, lighter somehow. I sent her a message before I could overthink it. Hi, Diane. This is awkward, but my name is Natasha. I'm married to Gregory Caruso. I found something that made me wonder about the timeline of your divorce. Would you be willing to talk? I hit send and immediately regretted it. What if she thought I was crazy? What if she told Gregory? What if this was a terrible idea? 3 hours later, she responded, I've been waiting for this message for 4 years. Call me. She included her phone number. I called her that night while Gregory was at another late meeting. Diane picked up on the second ring. Her voice was steady, calm. She said, "What did you find?" I told her about the anniversary card. She laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. She said, October 2019. That was 2 months before he told me he needed space to figure himself out. Let me guess, he moved out suddenly? Took most of his stuff while you were away somewhere? I felt my stomach drop. He moved out while I was visiting my sister in March 2020, said he needed to process our relationship problems. Diane made a noise like she'd been expecting that. He moved out while I was at my mother's funeral, January 2020, took everything except the furniture. When I got back, there was a note saying he couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't speak. Diane continued, "And let me guess again, he told you I was threatened by his success, that I wanted to keep him small." I whispered yes. She said, "He told the woman after me the same thing. Her name was Simone. I found her about a year after my divorce. She messaged me the same way you just did." I sat up straighter. "There's another one?" Diane's voice was grim. "There's always another one. That's his pattern." We talked for 2 hours. Diane laid it out like she'd been studying it for years. Gregory had a system. He'd meet someone new while still in his current relationship. He'd overlap them by 6 to 8 months, building the new relationship while slowly detaching from the current one. He'd create a narrative where his current partner was the problem, too controlling, too insecure, too threatened by his success. Then he'd leave suddenly, usually while the current partner was distracted or away. Within weeks, he'd be fully committed to the new woman, acting like the previous relationship never mattered. Diane said, "He doesn't cheat in the traditional sense, he upgrades. Each woman is supposed to be better than the last, younger, more accomplished, more impressed by him, and each woman is told the previous one was defective somehow." I asked her about Simone. Diane said she'd tracked her down through mutual connections after seeing Gregory with a new woman at a charity event. Simone had been wife number 2, married to Gregory from 2017 to early 2019. She was a corporate lawyer, ambitious and sharp. Gregory had told Diane that Simone was too career-focused and never made time for him. Diane said, "I reached out to Simone the same way you reached out to me, and when we compared notes, we realized he'd left both of us almost identically. Same timeline, same excuses, same sudden exit. I felt sick. Did you confront him?" Diane laughed again. "We tried. He called us bitter, said we were jealous of his new life, said successful men always have exes who form alliances out of resentment. Then he blocked both of us. I thought about the perfume on his collar, about Paige, about how he'd been staying late and attending conferences. I said, I think he's already overlapping me." Diane went quiet. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. "Do you want to meet? In person?" I said yes before I'd fully processed the question. She said, "And I think we should bring Simone." 3 days later, I drove 2 hours to a coffee shop in Salem. Diane was already there when I arrived. She looked exactly like her photos, mid-40s, dark hair cut in a sharp bob, wearing a blazer that said she'd rebuilt her life successfully. She hugged me like we were old friends. "I'm sorry you're in this club," she said, "but I'm glad you found us." Simone arrived 15 minutes later, younger than Diane, older than me, polished, professional, the kind of woman who probably intimidated people in courtrooms. She shook both our hands and said, "So we're really doing this." We spent 4 hours in that coffee shop. We laid out everything. Diane had been wife number 1, married to Gregory from 2012 to 2020, 8 years. Simone had overlapped Diane, started dating Gregory in 2016 while he was still married. She hadn't known he was married until much later. She married him in 2017, after his divorce from Diane was finalized. She'd been wife number 2 from 2017 to 2019. I was wife number 3, married in 2020. And now, in 2024, Gregory was already setting up wife number 4, Paige. The same pattern, the same timeline, the same lies. Simone pulled out a notebook. She'd been documenting everything since Diane first contacted her. She said, He leaves every wife around the 7 to 8 year mark. He starts the overlap around year 6. He always frames the current wife as the problem. He always positions himself as the victim. And he always moves on within weeks like nothing happened. Diane added, and he always upgrades in specific ways. I was a teacher. Simone was a lawyer. Natasha, you're in marketing, right? I nodded. Regional marketing director. Simone looked at me. And Paige? I'd looked her up after the perfume incident. She has an MBA from Cornell. She's being fast-tracked for senior management. Diane leaned back in her chair. See? Each woman is more accomplished than the last, more successful, more prestigious. It's not about love, it's about status. We're achievements to him. And when he finds someone who looks better on paper, he trades up. The words hit me like cold water. 8 years of my life. I wasn't a wife, I was a line item on his resume. That's when Simone said something that changed everything. He's got a promotion party next month. Did he tell you? I shook my head. Simone smirked. He's being promoted to vice president of sales. Huge deal. The company's throwing a party at the Riverside Hotel, black tie event. All the executives will be there. I know because my firm does legal work for his company. I saw the invitation. She looked between me and Diane. I'm thinking we should attend. Diane's eyes lit up. As his guests? Simone shook her head. As presenters. I didn't understand at first. Then Simone explained. She said, I've been documenting his pattern for 2 years. Marriage dates, divorce dates, overlap periods, timeline comparisons, I have everything. And I think we should show it to him. Publicly. At his big promotion party in front of all his colleagues and superiors. I thought she was joking, but Diane was nodding. She said, a presentation, like a PowerPoint showing the pattern. Simone pulled out her laptop. I already started building it. Look. She opened a file labeled the Gregory Caruso Pattern Analysis. The first slide said, a case study in strategic relationship management. The second slide showed a timeline. 3 marriages, 3 overlaps, 3 identical exit strategies. The third slide showed quotes, things Gregory had said about each of us to the next woman. Diane was threatened by my success. Simone was too career-focused. I need a partner who understands ambition. Every woman got the same script. We were interchangeable to him. I stared at the presentation. You want to show this at his promotion party? Simone nodded. In front of everyone he works with, everyone he's trying to impress, everyone who thinks he's this successful, put-together executive. Diane leaned forward. He's built his entire image on being the guy who has it all together. Perfect career, perfect wife, perfect life. What happens when 3 wives show up and reveal he's been running the same con for 12 years? I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger exactly, something colder, something clearer. I said, he'll deny everything. He'll say we're bitter exes. Simone smiled. That's why we have documentation. Marriage certificates, divorce decrees, timeline overlaps, text messages, everything. We spent the next 3 weeks building the presentation. Simone did the legal documentation. Diane gathered the marriage and divorce records. I contributed the recent evidence, photos of Gregory with Paige at work events, screenshots of his location data showing late nights at her apartment building, credit card statements showing hotel rooms booked during business trips that coincided with Paige's travel schedule. We kept it factual, clinical. No emotions, just dates and evidence, slide after slide of proof that Gregory Caruso had a pattern, that he ran the same playbook on every woman, that he was doing it again right now. The promotion party was on a Saturday night. Black tie, 200 people expected. Gregory had told me about it 2 weeks prior, but I'd pretended to have a prior commitment. He'd seemed relieved. less complicated without me there asking questions. He had no idea what was coming. Diane, Simone, and I arrived separately. We wore black dresses, professional, polished. We looked like we belonged at a corporate event. Simone had contacted the event coordinator earlier that week, claiming to be from Gregory's company's legal team. She'd gotten access to the AV system. She'd loaded our presentation onto the venue's server. All we had to do was wait for the right moment. Gregory's boss gave a speech at 8 p.m. He praised Gregory's leadership, his dedication, his ability to build relationships. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. Then he invited Gregory to the stage to say a few words. Gregory stood up. He looked perfect. Expensive suit, confident smile. He walked to the podium and started talking about his journey with the company, about sacrifice, about the importance of having the right partner who supports your vision. I felt Diane tense beside me. Simone had her hand on the remote control for the presentation system. We waited. Gregory finished his speech. The room applauded. Then his boss said, "Before we continue with dinner, I believe we have a special presentation prepared." He looked confused. That wasn't on the program. Simone stood up. She walked calmly to the front of the room. She said, "Yes, we do. Thank you for the opportunity to share." She connected her laptop to the system. The screen behind Gregory lit up. The first slide appeared, the Gregory Caruso pattern, a comprehensive analysis. The room went silent. Gregory's face drained of color. Simone advanced to the second slide, the timeline, 3 marriages laid out in perfect parallel. Wife 1, Diane, 2012-2020. Wife 2, Simone, 2017-2019. Wife 3, Natasha, 2020, present. The overlaps were highlighted in red. Each one started approximately 6 months before the previous marriage ended. The room started murmuring. Diane stood up. She walked to the front and stood next to Simone. She said, "My name is Diane Harlow. I was married to Gregory for 8 years. He left me in January 2020 while I was at my mother's funeral." She advanced the slide. It showed the anniversary card from October 2019, the same card I'd found in his gym bag. Diane said, 2 months after writing this card, he told me he needed space. 3 months later, he was engaged to someone else." She gestured to Simone. "This is Simone Chen. She was wife number 2. Simone advanced the slide. It showed her marriage certificate to Gregory, date April 2017. Then her divorce decree, date March 2019. Simone said, "He told me Diane was too controlling. He said I was different, but the timeline shows he was already dating his next partner while married to me." I stood up. I walked to the front. The room was completely silent now. People were staring. Gregory's boss looked like he'd seen a ghost. I said, "My name is Natasha Reeves. I'm wife number 3, and based on the evidence we've compiled, I'm currently being replaced." I advanced the slide. It showed photos of Gregory with Paige, time-stamped, location tagged, hotel receipts, travel overlaps, the same pattern he'd run on Diane and Simone. I said, "This presentation isn't about revenge, it's about pattern recognition. Gregory Caruso has a system. Every 7 to 8 years, he finds someone new. He overlaps relationships, he rewrites history. He makes each woman believe the previous one was defective, and then he does it again." Simone advanced to the final slide. It was a simple chart, predicted next steps based on historical pattern. It showed 2024-2025, continue overlap with current target. 2025, exit current marriage during convenient absence or distraction. 2025-2026, marry current target. 2031-2032, begin seeking upgrade target. She looked at Gregory. We're not here to ruin your promotion. We're here to show your colleagues who you actually are. Not a victim of failed marriages, a man who treats relationships like career moves, calculated, strategic, disposable. The room erupted. People started talking over each other. Gregory's boss stepped forward. "Gregory, is this true?" Gregory tried to speak. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. His face was red. Finally, he said, "These women are lying. They're bitter and jealous, and they can't handle that I've moved on with my life." Diane pulled out a folder. "We have documentation, marriage certificates, divorce decrees, timeline analysis, credit card statements, location data, text messages. If you'd like to review the evidence, we're happy to provide copies." She handed the folder to Gregory's boss. He opened it. He flipped through the pages. His expression changed from confusion to disgust. He looked at Gregory. "We'll be discussing this on Monday." Gregory grabbed the folder. "This is insane. You can't believe 3 crazy exes over me." His boss stepped back. 3 exes showing up with a documented presentation isn't crazy. It's coordinated. And frankly, it's concerning. He looked at the room. "I think we need to end this evening early. Thank you all for coming." People started leaving. Some were staring at Gregory. Others were whispering. A few came up to us. One woman, maybe in her 30s, said quietly, "Thank you for doing this. I almost got involved with him 2 years ago. He told me his wife didn't understand him." Simone nodded. "He tells everyone that." Gregory stood alone at the front of the room. His promotion party had turned into an intervention. His carefully constructed image had shattered in under 10 minutes. He tried to approach me. I stepped back. Diane moved between us. She said, "You don't get to talk to any of us anymore. We're done being your upgrades." Simone added, "And Paige deserves to know what she's walking into. We'll be reaching out to her too." We left together, 3 women who should have been rivals, walking out arm in arm. Gregory called after us, something about lawsuits and defamation. Simone didn't even turn around. She said, "Good luck with that. Truth is an absolute defense." We went to a bar across the street. We ordered whiskey and toasted to pattern recognition. Diane said, "Do you think he'll change?" Simone shook her head. "Men like him don't change. They just get better at hiding." I asked what happened next. Diane smiled. "You file for divorce. You take half of everything. You rebuild your life. And you stop looking at failed marriages as failures. They're just data points that led you to the truth." I filed for divorce the following Monday. Gregory tried to contest it. My lawyers sent him copies of the presentation, the timeline analysis, and a detailed accounting of his affair with Paige. He signed the papers 3 days later. The divorce was finalized in 6 months. I got the house, half his retirement accounts, and a settlement that made the lawyers smile. Gregory's promotion was quietly rescinded. His company launched an investigation into his expense reports after someone, maybe Simone, maybe Diane, maybe all of us, submitted anonymous tips about suspicious hotel charges and travel inconsistencies. He resigned before they could fire him. Last I heard, he took a job in another state, started fresh somewhere his reputation hadn't followed him yet. Paige called me 4 months after the party. She said Gregory had told her we were obsessed with him. She said he'd warned her that we might try to contact her. She said she'd almost believed him. Then she found a receipt for an anniversary gift, for me, dated 2 months earlier while he was supposedly committed to her. She said, "I looked up the presentation online. Someone posted it. I watched the whole thing. I asked her what she was going to do. She said, 'I already left, and I saved your number, in case there's ever a wife number 5. She deserves to know.'" Diane, Simone, and I still meet twice a year. Coffee, wine, updates on our lives. Diane's been married to her kind husband for 3 years now. Simone is engaged to a professor she met at a fundraiser. I'm dating someone new, a high school teacher who's never been married and thinks the whole Gregory situation is both horrifying and fascinating. We call ourselves the Pattern Recognition Society. It started as a joke, but there's truth in it. We learned to see the signs, the love bombing, the overlap, the narrative control, the sudden exits. And we learned that when women compare notes instead of competing, patterns become visible. People ask if we regret the presentation, if it was too harsh, if we should have just moved on quietly. I tell them the same thing every time. Gregory spent 12 years building a system. He refined it with each marriage. He got better at selecting targets, managing timelines, controlling narratives. He turned relationships into transactions. We didn't destroy him. We just made the pattern visible. And visibility is the enemy of systems like his. I don't regret it. None of us do. We didn't get revenge. We got documentation, and we gave the next woman a fighting chance.
You've just stepped into her revenge side, where every wound finds its justice, and every silence ends with truth. If her story struck a chord, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Another secret waits in the next video. See how her revenge begins.